And welcome to the Belmont Stakes and possibly the Triple Crown edition of And They're Off. We're joined here by the great Steve Bick from At the Races. You know him from satellite radio, Sirius and XM. One day a year he shows his face. And believe me, those Facebook photos don't count because he doctors them. So, Steve, welcome.
Thanks so much, Lenny. It's always a pleasure to join you and Steve. Not so in such proximity, but it's nice to be here.
You can't address me because I have not been introduced yet.
Yeah, speaking of which, Steve, it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were right up there, and we said, is there anything better than being at Belmont in early June with a Triple Crown on the line? Number one, I can't believe we've been doing this for 4 years, but how great is it to have a Triple Crown back on the line this year?
You realize, all the years that you miss it when there's no Triple Crown, and it becomes, all right, it's a good race, it's the Belmont Stakes, and you try and make some kind of an angle out of it. But boy, the excitement, we just came from the draw, the excitement, the number of cameras out there, just the buzz in the air, you can just feel it. I mean, there's something so totally different about it.
We're on the verge of one of those magical moments that this sport is actually capable of producing, because the chill that goes down your spine when that horse walks into that gate late Saturday afternoon with 100,000 screaming fans. You know, all of these people, we're going to get into some of the negative stuff about this sport, but if you don't appreciate that moment and what this sport is capable of in moments like that, you might as well just find something else.
You know what it is? It's actually that lull, that quiet when they're getting into the gate, and when he says it is now post time, that's when that cheer goes up and those gates open. That's when the heart really starts racing.
Isn't it? It's not when they play Sidewalks of New York?
No.
Or what are they playing this year? Are they playing the same?
That's a good
I
question.
think
They haven't played Sidewalks in New York in ages.
You know what they should play is the jazz song Street Life, because he's going to be the first horse onto the track.
Remember the one year they had that rap number or something?
That was last
remember?
year. That did not go well, and with that memory goes Nima Ghazi, actually, the director of marketing behind it.
That was a one and done for sure. All right, we referred to some of the things that have been going on here. It's been a very eventful 4 weeks since the Kentucky Derby, as various media members try to kill the sport with their negativity and general miserableness. Unfortunately, we don't need PETA or the New York Times to try to kill our sport. We're doing it from the inside with the regulators in California and New York. Steve, the people on the California Horse Racing Board who decide to sanction Doug O'Neill for something he didn't do 2 years ago and sanction him between the Preakness and the Belmont with him going for the Triple Crown. In my opinion, they're morons.
Well, they're one of many organizations that are moronic in this game. But I mean, the timing of that was so absurd to do that 2 weeks out. And then they come up with the finding. They come up with the finding that he did not do anything. And that gets buried into the 5th paragraph of their ruling. Yeah. So the big thing is that, okay, he was suspended. That's not the big story. The big story should be Doug O'Neill cleared of milkshaking. And because of the absolute insurer rule where the trainer is responsible, then we had to suspend him for 45 days. They bury the lead.
I took a little bit of an alternative view and discussed it with Doug last week when we were down for the Met Mile, and talked to him and said, in some regard, it was maybe better that the ruling came out, no matter what the ruling was, as opposed to it hanging over his head through this week and then subsequently coming out after, let's say, I'll have another wins on Saturday. Then you get all the impugning and the besmirching. At least now, the impugning and besmirching is out front.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
I don't agree either, because what was hanging over his head was that he was innocent. Yeah. That's what was hanging over his head.
I don't agree too. Let this race go off under a positive cloud and not. Well, you have
a negative clear skies.
You have the fluffy white clouds,
yes,
and you've got the dark clouds.
All right.
Let it go off under the fluffy white cloud.
Not to be undone by the California idiots. The idiots in New York decide they're going to borrow the TSA from LaGuardia Airport, bring them over here, and set up a detention barn for the Belmont Stakes horses all of a sudden at the last minute. What does this say about their drug testing protocol for the other 364 days? Are they just saying through a loudspeaker, hey, our drug testing really isn't effective and it really doesn't work, so we have to put horses in jail for 4 days to make sure?
Well, listen. We all know it's geared around the pressure around one person. That's all. I mean, Peter started this off by putting pressure on Governor Cuomo by sending him a letter saying that they demanding that this horse be put under 24-hour surveillance. Governor Cuomo, not a big fan of racing anyway, contacts the State Racing and Wagering Board and said, look, you got to do something about this. So they come up with this cockamamie barn idea, which is the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. And we haven't even seen this is at the tip of the iceberg. The next few days is going to be a lunatic asylum over there. And basically what they're saying, and Dale Roman said this best, what they're saying is that we're all crooks.
The thing that Jay Pribman pointed out on radio with me, I thought was really the most important point, which is that now, if I'll Have Another does not win, it creates a cloud of uncertainty about what was going on in Louisville and Baltimore. And of course, even though there isn't necessarily a segregated barn scenario in Pimlico or Churchill, there is the TRPB on hand, and there is constant supervision, and pretty much a lot of the same kinds of safeguards. So, and then of course there's the post-race testing, and there's actually the potential of pre-race testing as well that has gone on the last several years. So the same security measures are in place. Here they're going to amplify it for whatever motivation. And the biggest concern is that if he shouldn't win, then the boo birds will come out and say, he was engineered in the first two legs.
I think that was obvious. I mean, that's the first reaction to have. You know what?
Who thinks that way, though? Who projects that?
Everybody's going to think that way. The same people who came up with this idea. You know what I hope? I hope after the race, all 12 horses come up positive for TCO2.
Ah, stop it, Steve. That would be what was it? A dark cloud? What did he just say?
A dark blue sky.
Dark blue sky. All right. We caught up moments ago with trainer Chad Brown. Chad Brown has street life in the Belmont Stakes. Big up-and-coming trainer. First Triple Crown entry. Let's go to the interview with Chad Brown. Stable boy, roll that interview. We're here with trainer Chad Brown, the pride of Mechanicville, who will be running his first Belmont Stakes horse on Saturday. Pretty good stuff for a New York guy?
Yeah, real big time. We're in the Big Apple.
So you're not just running to run, though. This guy belongs.
No, I don't run for the free buffet they give you. I'm running the win, Lenny.
Buffet wasn't that good. I think you got the right approach.
Yeah.
Chad, you put the blinkers on him. Obviously, there seems to be a pretty big difference looking at his last race and in his last workout. He seems to be a lot more focused now.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I've seen a big change since we put the blinkers on the horse. He's definitely sharper in the mornings, like you said. I thought his last race was sharper. It's probably a little deceiving. He was still pretty far back in that race, but it was also the first time he's had a fast pace to run in. So I think with a slower pace in the race, you're going to see this horse naturally lay closer than he has been and be okay doing it. So he's going to turn into a versatile horse as he matures and as he gets some more seasoning.
Pretty interesting breeding by a Kentucky Derby winner. Broodmare sire is a Kentucky Derby winner. I take it the distance is going to be up his alley.
Yeah, he's bred stoutly to run long on dirt, and that's what we're going to give him a chance to do.
Just watching him gallop in the morning, I mean, he's about as smooth as anybody out there. I mean, he really looks good galloping. He's always had that kind of a smooth, efficient stride, or has it changed over the course of the last few months or so?
Yeah, I'd say it's improved. He's been smooth all along, but he's always been along the lazy side, even in his gallops when he was 2. He wouldn't really drag the rider around the whole way. He'd be on and off the bridle, so to speak. And I agree with you. Coming into this race, he's been on the bridle solid, 1.5 miles all the way around, and comes home with plenty of energy. I think it's a sign of him maturing, getting stronger.
Drew the rail, any misgivings, or is that okay with you?
It's okay with me because it's okay with the jock. I asked Jose Lezcano 2 days ago, where would you really want to be? He said, I'd like to be inside with this horse. So you can't get any further inside than that.
How many tour buses coming from Mechanicville on Saturday?
Not much. Just some family coming down and just keep it low-key and try to fly into the winner's circle if we can.
All right. We asked your mentor 4 years ago to give us a winner anywhere that you are running, anywhere this weekend. Who you want to tout for us out of your stable this weekend, anywhere around?
Street Life in the Belmont.
Ah, there you go. You got to love that.
Bobby's 1-for-1, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. He gave us Ventura, who nobody knew at that time, who won the Just a Game that day. Trainer Chad Brown, Street Life. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Good luck, Dan.
I'll have another. Certainly hasn't scared off too many folks here. 12 horses entered in the Belmont Stakes. Guys, we have a pretty good cross-section. Horses that ran the Derby. You skipped the Preakness. New horses that are hopefully up-and-comers. What do you make of the field, guys?
I mean, I think it's a pretty strong field, about halfway through. I think this, half the field really has no shot. Some of those have no business being in the race. But, other than I'll have another, Dullahan, Union Regs, the two horses that ran in the Derby, that skipped the Preakness, they're probably the two biggest threats right now. And the fresh horses, the horses like Painter and Street Life, these are horses that are getting good right now. And that's basically, I think, your race right there. You can make an outside case for a couple of others, but that's it. I think the winner comes from that group.
Steve, what do you think of the field overall?
I got to agree. I mean, you get past the obvious horses that have a level of accomplishment. The horse that the field suffered for losing was Alpha, because Alpha had, plenty of appeal. The Bernardini and, of course, the Dam Side with tremendous stamina influences. And I thought Alpha would have been a very fun horse to play off of in this particular Belmont. I suppose that Adigan, to some extent, becomes, that kind of a horse. Certainly a good-looking horse. He's been compromised or failed to perform in his prior graded stake tries. But he's a grand-looking horse. I saw him for the first time since Churchill here yesterday, and I told Ken McPeak I thought that there was something there, and he agrees. He's out of a Dynaformer mare by Istan, and there's reason to believe that this trip might be up his alley. He's got the right style. I mean, there's no real creative way to interpret this race other than from I'll Have Another and, of course, Dullahan and Union Rags, and then a little bit of Painter. After that, you're reaching for, the Dataras of the world and the Saravas.
And we did come from the post position draw. I thought I'll Have Another drew very well at 11. He's gone very well from outside post in the first two legs of this. The jock seems very comfortable leaving from outside and getting in and scoring position going into the first turn. I thought he drew pretty well here.
He did, as long as the jock isn't too overconfident and decides he wants to keep him in the clear and he gets hung 4 wide on that first turn. That's the worst thing that can happen, because that turn is so long and it's so demanding. If you lose ground on that turn, you're going to have to be a super horse to make it up. So as long as he gets a fairly decent position, he's got the speed. He breaks very well. He breaks sharply. There's not a lot of speed in there. If he can, sort of ease on over and go into the first, 2, 3 wide.
Follow Painter, maybe.
Exactly. Follow Painter around there. And I'm not saying to get him inside of horses. He can be outside of horses, but not get hung wide. That's all on that whole turn.
I agree, and you would think that he'll basically do what he did in the Derby, which is use the space between the gate and the first turn to find himself, a comfortable position to more or less tuck into. Other than that, I mean, everybody else, everything works here. I mean, Dullahan, perfect as well, and I suppose the one horse that you're going to want to watch early is Union Rags.
Yeah, unfortunately, he drew inside again.
Drew inside, but I don't think it's necessarily terrible. I mean, Unstoppable You probably goes. I think Johnny is going to use him a little bit early. I think you're going to find Union Rags very forwardly placed in this race, much earlier than anybody would have expected.
Especially coming off a 58 and change workout, too.
All right, it is that time, folks. We're going to turn to Steve Bick first. Who wins the Belmont Stakes Saturday?
Can I make music for me again?
Yeah, you can. It'll probably be as good as who you pick.
Thank you. Oh, the nice. I was going to pick Alpha. I was going to look for that.
Pick a friggin' horse in the race.
I'll Have Another should win this race. I don't think there's much. There's no reason to think he will not.
Okay. Steve Haskin, who wins the Belmont Stakes?
Got to go with I'll Have Another. He's different. He's freaky.
I'll have another
in a
carrying
way.
173 pounds now.
Well, hey, listen, that's not my fault. You're the one that asked me. I didn't volunteer this.
All right, I have guaranteed the connections of I'll Have Another that I would not pick him. I am going to stay. I am going to stay true to that.
I don't want no out
I am going to stay true to that. Here is my pick.
Wimpy way out.
Here's my pick for the Belmont. Painter will finish second in the Belmont. go to the windows, bet Painter to place in the Belmont. Stable boy, get over here. Who's going to win the
Ahmed
Belmont
Zaid, I
Stakes?
love you for that.
All right. I'm also going with I'll have another because if I pick any other horse and it wins, I turn into a villain, and I just don't want that to happen.
Believe me, you're worse than a villain. You don't have to worry about being a villain. All right. We want to thank our viewers. We want to thank Darby Dan Farm. We want to congratulate Darby Dan Farm, who's Shackelford, who they will be standing next year, a Met Mile winner to go along with his Preakness. Good news for them. And they sent out Winter Memories in the Just a Game Saturday, so good luck to Darby Dan Farm. We want to thank the skipper for coming down to help us today. Of course, the great stable boy, Steve Bick. Thanks for being here. Steve Haskin. Everybody have a great Belmont Stakes. Even though I didn't pick them, we'll be rooting for I'll Have Another. If you're in the New York area, it's going to be a great day Saturday.
Who did
Get
you
over
pick?
here. If I pick Painter to play, shut up.
That's not a pick.
Have a great time, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye. That's it.